Alright, so this is the iPhone 8 Plus, $900. And this is the iPhone 5S, $100. Now moving into 2018, how does the iPhone 5S stand next to the iPhone 8? Let's find out. Now let's start with the build quality. Both phones are pretty solid and have a really premium feel. Now with the iPhone 8, the back is complete glass, where on the iPhone 5S, it's a full aluminum body. So if you have the iPhone 8 or you're considering getting an iPhone 8, there's two places that can now be cracked. But on the other side, the benefit with the glass back is you now have wireless charging, the design is a lot more premium, and it's actually a lot more grippier than the iPhone 5S body. Like on the iPhone 8, the Apple logo is now behind the glass, where on the iPhone 5S it's right on top. The flash is also behind the glass, where on the iPhone 5S we have a cutout for the flash. For the cameras, we have two dual 12 megapixel cameras for the Plus model and a single 12 megapixel camera for the regular model, where on the iPhone 5S we have a single 8 megapixel camera. But to be honest, the picture quality from the iPhone 5S and the picture quality from the iPhone 8 isn't a big factor that will get you to upgrade. Sure, the pictures are quite sharper and the colors are a little more accurate and a little more better on the iPhone 8, but spending 3 times the money for the iPhone 8 just for better pictures isn't really worth it. And especially if you're just uploading pictures to Snapchat or Instagram, because they will end up compressing your pictures anyways. Now in terms of videos, this is where the iPhone 5S differs a lot more. The iPhone 8 Plus is able to record at 4K at 60 frames per second, where on the iPhone 5S we're only able to record at 1080p. So this is going to be a lot more noticeable difference. The iPhone 8 Plus is able to record some high definition videos with a lot of clarity and a lot of sharpness. And on this guy you will only have 1080p. Now looking at the front, you won't notice some big differences other than the screen size. The iPhone 8 Plus has a 5.5-inch display, where on the iPhone 5S we only have a 4-inch display. And if you go for the iPhone 8, it has a 4.7-inch display, which is still smaller than the iPhone 8 Plus, but still bigger than the iPhone 5S. So in terms of that, the iPhone 5S is the smallest display you'll get. But if you're comfortable with a 4-inch display, it still has a lot to offer. Speaking in terms of resolution, there isn't a difference at all. All displays have the same resolution. It's 326 pixels per inch. So you're getting the same resolution no matter if it's the iPhone 5S or the iPhone 8 Plus. But moving to the inside, the iPhone 8 Plus is running on the Apple A11 Bionic chip, where on the iPhone 5S we're running on an A7 64-bit chip. Now the good thing with the iPhone 5S is this was the first iPhone to have a 64-bit operating system. So anything older like the iPhone 5 or the iPhone 4 or the 4S, they're all running on a 32-bit system, but the iPhone 5S was the first iPhone to be running on a 64-bit system. In terms of RAM, we have a 1GB RAM on the iPhone 5S and a 3GB RAM on the iPhone 8 Plus, so 3 times more RAM on the iPhone 8 Plus. And if you go for the regular size iPhone 8, you still get double the RAM, so 2GB of RAM for the iPhone 8. So with the iPhone 5S, you are missing out on that. So that will affect the performance, and I'll get back to that in a bit. In terms of expandability, none of these phones have expandable storage, which we've never seen from Apple. And I know many iPhone users who constantly complain about the limited storage they have. So the iPhone 5S has a 16GB base storage, where on the iPhone 8, we finally have 64GB base storage. So if you're coming from an older device like the iPhone 5S or anything similar, you'll definitely appreciate the internal storage. But if you are sticking to the iPhone 5S, this is one downfall. I know a lot of users have problem with 16GB devices nowadays. 32GB is at least minimum. And well, 64GB is the highest storage you can get for the iPhone 5S. So the highest storage that was being offered back in the day is now the minimum storage. So if you are facing problems with the limited storage, you should probably consider upgrading. Now moving into software side of things, the iPhone 5S was initially launched with iOS 7 and the iPhone 8 is currently launched on the iOS 11. But the good thing is the iPhone 5S is able to upgrade to iOS 11. So right now both phones are running the same software. Now using the software raw, you won't notice a big difference. Both phones perform pretty similar. And to be honest, with the latest release of the iOS 11, I haven't faced any problems with the software itself. So the software itself runs pretty good. The response times are pretty fast. I didn't notice any lags. So overall the software does a pretty good job on a phone that's about 5-6 years old. Now that was the raw software, but moving into more performance side of things, launching native apps like the settings, the iPhone 8 Plus has the lead. And it's able to maintain the lead no matter what application it is. And while this isn't really something surprising, the iPhone 8 Plus has a lot of power. In fact, it's more powerful than some of the base MacBooks. So that's a lot of power for a device this small. But looking at the other side of things, the iPhone 5s is still able to compete very well. Sure, it is a little bit slower, but it's barely a second or two, and overall it doesn't really make a big difference. Going on to third-party apps, this is where the iPhone 5s looks a little bit more slower. So launching apps like the Real Racing 3 takes about 14 to 15 seconds longer on the iPhone 5s. But the good thing is, once the app is up and running, you get a pretty good user experience. So the game runs pretty smooth, the frame rates are pretty good, and the game doesn't really lag at all. So that's really good performance out of a device that's almost 5 years old. So after using both phones, in terms of performance, yes, the iPhone 5s is a little bit slower. The iPhone 8 is definitely faster. Using social media, surfing on websites, everything loads faster on the iPhone 8. But considering the price, the iPhone 5s is still a really good buy. And honestly, use it for a day or two and you'll get comfortable with the speeds and the way it is. I've done it, it's not impossible, and once you get used to it, the phone works just fine. It's able to do everything that the iPhone 8 can, excluding some fancy little portrait modes and the 3D touch and all that. But other than that, it's a fully functional phone. It's still able to compete with the iPhone 8 after 5 years, which is pretty good. Now the only downfall I can think of not upgrading to iPhone 8 would probably be water resistance. The iPhone 8 is water and dust resistant, so you can use it in the rain, in the shower, or spill some water on it and it won't get damaged. So that's one thing you lose with the iPhone 5s. Other than that, the iPhone 8 has wireless charging, which is pretty slow, so I don't mind if I don't have that when I'm saving so much more on the iPhone 5s. And the only other thing you would be missing out on is fast charging. The iPhone 8 is capable to be charged to 50% within half an hour. But even for that, you need to spend an extra $100 to buy all the extra accessories, so it's not cheap. Where on the other side, the iPhone 5s is a really good buy. Yes, it is a little bit slower, but it's something you can get used to if you want to save some money. And for most part, the iPhone 5s is capable of doing everything the iPhone 8 can. Yeah, a little bit slower, but it works. Let me know what you think about the iPhone 5s in a comment down below, and subscribe to Roll Tech if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.